Good morning, world. This is Coffee with the Summerland Kids. It is Wednesday, August 14th, 2024. Been lost on the road for a bit, but now I'm back. And the weather in Summerland today is 62 degrees on the cool, but 78 and sunny on the warm. So that's what's up, man. It's sunny in Summerland again. Yeah,
Again, oh my gosh, what is it? 500 days in a row of sunny Summerland?
yeah, I know, right? And I drove, well, I could say I trained it through there on the way to Santa Barbara. It's been a whirlwind tour because I got back yesterday. So I guess it would be frick yesterday. I can't even remember now, but I think day before yesterday, I was actually on the train to Santa Barbara. And then that's where I lost time because I literally drove all night, more or less. And I did get some sleep in a couple rest stops with the truckers, but that's about it, you know. So I got a
Oh,
good
there's
sleep
something
last
about
night.
sleeping in
So
the car on the road trip that it
yeah,
just makes it, you just never quite get the right sleep.
yeah. I mean, especially after drinking like enough Red Bulls, because I felt like when I was in Santa Maria, like I looked at my GPS. I'm like, okay, let me just look at this real quick, and all of a sudden it said, go up to Cuyama and Tehachapi and all that stuff. So, and I was like feeling like faded, right? Even before I got on the road, I was already faded, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, because I woke up at like probably like, 4 something in the morning, slash out the door at 5 a.m. in LA and walked over to Union Station and then jumped on that 7 a.m. train to Santa Barbara. And they were super on time. And that train only might have been, I can't remember how much it was, maybe $30 or 28 or some reasonable amount from LA to Santa Barbara. So note to self on that one. That's a good one. It's the Surfliner Express, I think they call it, or yeah,
Yeah, the
Surfliner. I'm sure
Surfliner.
the Surfliner. Yeah, the Surfliner.
So I
So,
brought a guest,
it's
I
a
got brought a guest today.
yeah, the kitty cat. That's the dark one. Huh? Oh, the bunny.
He's a bunny.
That's amazing. I've been seeing some monkey bunny videos on Facebook. It's pretty amazing, funny, dude. Little baby monkey with a pet rabbit, and they're like
Oh
buddies,
yeah?
and they eating watermelon together. Yeah, it's freaking classic.
That's
So yeah,
hilarious.
it is hilarious. Um, so yeah, so it's nice to be back in Colorado. Definitely like a new shift. Like I just did a year, and I had some Facebook what do you call them? Facebook memories slash stuff like that come up where I'm like, okay, last year at this time, I did jump into a body shop and worked for a second at a job. Hi, Bunny. Worked for a second at a body shop here, but I sort of was like, I think I also last year at the same time did this trip with my grandfather's stuff. So slightly on the burnout. And the guy was like flexible on my start time, but then he's like, why don't you just come in tomorrow? I'm like, all right, dude. So I jumped in to work with him. And I think I did a couple days work with him. And I was like still a little faded on my energy level. I mean, I was doing great and, accomplished my task with him. Was working on like an old Ford Bronco roof of an old truck or something. And, but after a couple of days of that stuff, I'm like reassessing, like, okay, how's my time really going to work? Because I figured it out quickly because I've been in the automotive game since I was like freaking 16 years old. And I've had enough bosses to realize quickly what the bosses want. And I didn't want to give this guy like an unfulfilling experience. So I fulfilled my task and my duties, what I was given. But I could see moving forward from there, it was going to be challenging to, more or less keep him up to speed because the most body shops are all about insurance work, and that stuff. I'm not a big fan of that stuff. I mean, it'd be one thing if it was a classic car, that's really my specialty and my passion is with the classic car stuff. but on everyday cars, it's just like, I want to say, I mean, it's a paycheck for a lot of people, and especially for the bosses, they get paid well because insurance companies are paying the bill. In all those at body shops, insurance is the gravy, bread and butter experience, and everybody wants their car back as soon as possible. Of course, yada yada yada. And thankfully, the quality level of work in Colorado that I've seen is pretty darn high because the weather is so harsh. There's no room for like a little bit of like lackadaisical work or something. You got to
Oh
keep your,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
even if it's just an insurance on a standard car,
yeah,
you still want it to be nice.
yeah.
But like you're saying, with the insurance work and it being, kind of a machine of sorts,
It
they
is.
want a certain amount of efficiency. Where if like on a classic car, you definitely want to take the time to really make it perfect as possible. Or
Yeah,
one of my
exactly.
favorite words, perfecter. I don't
Yeah,
know if there's
perfecter.
such a term, perfect and perfecter, but
Yeah,
this little
exactly.
bunny, he just wanted to come on this morning and say hi. Hi, I'm the bunny. He showed up, my birthday week,
Oh,
and
nice. That's
kind of a
awesome.
surprise. The girlfriend went and got him. And that was
Uh-huh.
her gift to me, and it's pretty cool. She had a bunny growing up.
Oh, nice. So they have a pen, like a little outdoor pen, or
No, he's
indoor,
actually litter
indoor.
box trained.
Oh,
So
wow,
he
that's
goes
amazing.
in the litter box. He cruises around. He chewed up my power cord.
Oh my God. Wow.
So I've been
Yeah.
using my phone cord, or
Okay.
actually, my power cord went out. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
he chewed up my phone cord because I've been using my phone cord to charge.
Uh-huh.
So hopefully, I get the new laptop charger before I run out of power.
Wow. Yeah.
So I'll have to
It's one of
moderate
those
my
things.
use.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's like, it's almost like, how old is he? Do you think? Like a year old or?
We were told when we got him he was 4 months, so he's coming up on
Oh,
5 or 6 months here
just
pretty
a
soon.
baby. Just a baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just a baby. It's really cool because he was already, you know, doesn't freak out when you hold him,
Uh-huh.
and so
That's cool.
sometimes it's hard to get him to be real snuggly, but you can see he's just very comfortable. He likes to just sit on my lap here,
That's awesome. That's super awesome. Yeah.
and he's got the one
So,
floppy ear.
classic. That's cool. Yeah, animals are amazing. My cat was glad to see me. It's sort of like I've kind of adopted him because he showed up to the ranch and before I got there, and then when I when I moved in, he's definitely like my best buddy. So he's kind of changed my views. I used to love black cats the most, but yellow cats are definitely almost coming in first now in terms of their fun times. The orange cats with the stripes. Those guys are hilarious.
Oh
So
yeah, the orange cats are a trip. Uh,
yeah,
you really need a ranch cat, especially
yeah.
on a lot of farms. They bring them in for to keep the mice down.
Yeah.
Down here in Orville, there's actually a couple of cats in the Home Depot. So they
Oh
got a
wow,
couple of Home Depot cats that
that's
they
awesome.
just live in there. I guess the staff feeds them and takes care of them, but they keep the varmints down out of the garden area
That's cool.
and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Wow. Mm. Yeah. So L.A. man, that place is like gotten harder. I feel like during COVID was hard for everybody, and I think it did push, unfortunately, some of the people that were on the edge over the edge, and then they became homeless. And downtown LA has all those like the infrastructure built in to handle a lot of people in those cases where like the rescue mission and midnight mission and these different locations that help people that are homeless to start again and have a place to like charge their phone / get a meal. And sometimes they have a bed situation for people that can tolerate it. There's a cool movie called The Soloist with Robert Downey Jr. and I'm blanking on the other guy's name, but it really Robert Downey Jr. plays, I think, Jay Lopez, like he plays a writer, working for the Los Angeles Times, and he makes friends with a musician. And it's challenging when you're, maybe you have voices in your head, whatever the issues some people have. Then when you're in that realm, it's even tougher to be around people um, than the regular folks, in terms of community and all that. So some people want to be rather be in an environment that's on their own, almost like a solo mission, camping solo versus being with everybody else in the general population. So my thought was like, put two people on every person, like caseworkers and helper people, to try to get people to the next level, because it's really unfortunate for the businesses that are down there, because the businesses, they're paying rent and they're trying to keep their business going, and we're recovering from a tough time during COVID. I mean, it's been a couple of years now, so you'd think things would have bounced back, but um, it's slowly and surely happening. And there's a lot of big retail spaces that are empty. And I think those empty spaces that are boarded up, and after they had also some riots down there, some protests and some vandalism that make it look like, it's a harsh um, landscape. And in that harsh landscape, I think people find some solitude because they're not being asked to move on from the area, because there's nothing really going on. It's a very quiet space because of all the businesses that have left. So there's a void in the businesses, and then the void of business owners. So there's no one keeping the sidewalk clean and going out in the morning and sweeping and opening your doors up for your business and doing your business. Like, that's a normal routine. But when you don't have those business owners taking care of their spaces, it loses its it becomes like almost like anarchy, running amok. So we were talking the other day about the graffiti writers, and the graffiti writers have also taken advantage of that too, because they can go down there and do their art, so to speak, and not be have less chance of getting bothered, because it's just an empty storefront with plywood over the storefront. So hey, that looks like a free wall, you know. So, but it's
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's
but man,
it's a shame, because we're supposedly, a high first world nation,
yeah,
whatnot. But you go into some of these camps, and it really does, they're shoulder to shoulder, on a street or on an alley or on a
yeah,
sidewalk. Some places, you'll have RVs and stuff. A lot of times they're broken down or dilapidated, and people are living out of it. Even people trying to go to work, living in their car
yeah,
or whatnot. Trying to at least
right,
survive, at least have enough to get some food and maybe the potential of a place. And it's I watch the news, and I see, okay, a lot of these real estate, housing market kind of shorts and videos, to where a lot of these places are investing, or capital funds, or
right,
corporations are buying up the single family housing and driving up the cost. So maybe the market doesn't reflect the actual um, cost, because it's a corporation that owns it. So it's just a piece of information in the data banks, or a piece of equity to such a return, or this and such quoted market value. But when you look at it, how difficult is it to afford rent in some of these places? Like, if we're making 60, 80,000 or 100,000 a year, it's going to be really difficult. I mean, you look at minimum wage, and someone working maybe even 60 hours a week may not qualify, as far as, three times the income, I guess, is what the standard is for rent. So you're working in an area that the rent is so much more than you can afford. In Los Angeles, I guess, a lot of people commute, to where they're driving 2 hours into work just so they can afford to live. And so, you're taking that 8 hour workday, turn it into a 12-hour workday, because you're adding in 4 hours of commute time. I mean, I guess these are things that the city planners and stuff are looking at. How do we deal with it? I mean, I know the government, it does have funding for it. A lot of times you get extra bonuses when you're developing a place, if you're developing it for like low income housing. I know there's a lot of programs like Section 8 housing and stuff, but that still takes a little bit of work, and you got to kind of know what you're doing. So, like you're saying, if there were some more people on the ground, helping people get into those programs, it might, chip away at it, hopefully.
Yeah, it really takes a one-on-one, to me, approach, and a very an understanding of who you're dealing with and what their actual desires are. Because it's they. I mean, it's people are like definitely like free range in some cases down there and moving around, and they don't realize that I think the sidewalk is like public space. Like no one's essentially renting the sidewalk, but that like little public walkway um, provides an opportunity for the customers to walk and just go find we drove by the Apple store. The Apple has a huge store down there. They took over this old theater and made restored the theater and made it beautiful. Um, so it's like first class gorgeous, restoration of a historical building, and they're doing a wonderful job of keeping up their storefront. I think if they have any graffiti, they probably have it removed quickly because they have glass windows across the whole storefront. Um, but then a block away, there'll be an entire city block that's just a vortex. And I think what's also happening, like you mentioned it, the people watching the numbers online in real estate values. So even though there's no one renting at the current time um, or leasing, the owners are still gaining equity over the course of a year. Their value might go up so much so that all they have to do is essentially hold and then flip. Um, and that did happen to a building in the arts district that I know of, where they kicked a bunch of people out that I knew because the owner had sold the building, and since then it actually flipped, I think, like three times, and then it flipped into a situation where it's actually, I think, in terms of value, it's less value than when it was sold maybe 8 years ago now, which is weird. But sometimes people, buying in at the height of the market, um, it doesn't always come out smelling like roses if you buy in at the height and then you're expecting more growth, but maybe that growth might not happen. It's like, I guess it's speculation. Um,
Oh yeah,
so
yeah. I mean, I,
yeah,
I look at it like, I guess it was the '70s or whatever. Interest rates were 8%.
eight
So
percent.
even
Wow.
even though the cost of the house was low, you're paying a lot of interest. But as the value of the house goes up, you're actually making money, because if you're paying 8% interest, but the value of the home goes up 10%, you're getting extra 2%. And I guess that's part of it. The real estate bubble. People talk about the tech bubble and everything. And when the bubble bursts, a lot of people lose money and things change. So it always intrigues me of like, how is the world going to move forward? Of course, we can look at our gross national product in the richest half of the country and say, oh, look at how good we're doing. But if you look at, a poverty level income, or, even minimum wage job income, and how the lower half of the country is doing, you might have a different story. And I realize, there's got to be a balance um, between the two. But hopefully, as things modernize, AI, robotics, efficiency in production, efficiency in agriculture, hopefully the world as a whole can get up to a spot, a place in that where the most needed, the most poverty-stricken people, have a path out. It's kind of hard to imagine. I mean, I grew up poor, but I grew up in Summerland, so I could see
Yeah.
the light. I could see the path of advancing forward. Where if you grew up and all you know is the deep city ghettos, or the poverty stricken neighborhoods, how are you going to find that opportunity? I guess I lucked out. Santa Barbara has a good school system. San Luis Obispo has, a very high rated school system. And, so it's not always like that in the inner cities or in the poverty stricken areas. You look at some of the deep South or Midwest situations where, there's not much going on and people are like, oh, let's go out to Hollywood. Let's go out to California where there's some opportunity. Um, and, hopefully as a country, at least, we can start moving forward and helping those at the lowest end. I guess that's kind of a good philosophy to have. You lift up from even any team, like a football team or a
Yeah.
business team. If you can help out those people that are at the lower end per se, it lifts up, it elevates the whole team.
Yeah, no, you're right, absolutely, and that's a great point because when you have an experience like going downtown to go shopping, let's say, so you want to support local businesses, um, but your experience is such where, I mean, if you're by yourself and you're a man, you're even compromised in that way. I recommended a friend this morning if they're going to send people down there to have someone be with them to protect them essentially because it's so off the wall what you might experience and it just the seeing what's going on has an effect on you because you feel um, the sense of hopelessness and the sense of people in a very challenging position in their life where they sleeping on the sidewalk because they can't afford a home and then even if they did get a job like let's say at a fast food restaurant California now a lot of the mainstream ones with mega locations they're paying out like $20 an hour to the staff but still, even at $20 an hour, your paychecks, I think, are still not that incredible. When it comes to actually, you'd have to have like almost like let's say it's a husband and wife, and if they're both working, it's like takes a dual income, and then probably additionally, maybe the kid would have to pitch in too. I don't know. Like your teenage kid who just got a job, they probably have to start taxing the kid and say, it's time for you to pay rent, or something, or put something toward the mortgage because if they have one. But again, it's like, it almost takes like a little micro community effort just to pay the bills and stay
Oh,
afloat.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Even if you're getting some housing support like a Section 8, I know that for a time being there, we lived in the housing, I guess. So we had the Section 8, and actually, any time I had a job, that increased our household income,
Okay.
and so that would increase our rent.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so I had to kick in. Anytime I had a job growing up, the rent would go up, and I'd have to pay my portion.
Like a
Uh,
percentage, right? A percentage. Is
yeah,
it
I forget what
percentage
percentage.
based?
Well, it was pretty
Yeah.
low, I guess being the Section 8 housing, but you're living in a nice apartment and paying, a low amount, a percentage of your income. So if I'm making, say, $1,000 a month at my part-time job going through high school or my summer job, a portion of that would have to go towards rent because they would look at the whole household's
Okay.
income.
Wow. Yeah.
So when I made a job, our household income went up, and I did have to kick in. Pretty much all through high school, I had a job, and it was just normal thing for me to just kick in my
Right.
share of rent. I guess that kind of gave me a little advantage moving out on my own because I was just aware. I look at some of these kids, that aren't exposed to that. Like, how do you do taxes? How do you apply for housing? How do you do a bank account? That's not taught in school, and that's something that, lucky enough, I had exposure to growing up. So I understood. Yeah, you don't get your paycheck and go spend it. You put your paycheck in the bank because on the first of the month, rent and bills are going to be due. You want to make sure and cover that before you decide how you're going to spend your money. So the transition for me was easy, from under my parents' roof, under my mom's roof to under my own roof, because I was just in the habit of saving money and making sure I had money
Yeah.
for bills and balancing my
Right.
checkbook and
Wow.
all that.
Yeah. That is a being a step ahead, and also, having a positive attitude. I think through it, and like, the jobs you had were, you're able to climb up the ladder a little bit in terms of your time, which is cool too. To have like that, that experience, like a positive job experience, is huge. So, I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. I during high school and stuff for I guess a couple at least 2 or 3 consecutive years I worked the same job during the summer and also on weekends during the school I worked at the
Oh,
car
nice.
wash. Well, on my senior year of high school, I was given the keys to the kingdom, so to speak. On Sunday, I was the
Oh, cool.
manager. So I actually did have keys to the office, and I would, show up on Sunday and schedule my people for Sunday and be in the office and managing customer service and, managing any issues as far as, equipment at the car wash. So, yeah, it was definitely a good experience. Got able to work my way up to, I guess they called me the assistant manager, but really it was just
Yeah.
Sunday. I was the manager. The owner would always seem to come in every Sunday and get his
Okay,
car
that's cool.
washed. So it was kind of nice. He came and double checked, make sure I wasn't messing up too bad. I mean, you leave your business in charge of a high
Wow.
school kid, but Sunday was usually
Yeah.
really slow. So it's not like we had a bunch of cars. I think that we were going over the books, and it was just like is not really profitable per se as far as staying open on Sunday, but it was more of a customer service. I mean, I guess they did make a small amount of profit, but it was more, for being open on Sunday for those that couldn't come in and making sure that the employees had, the hours they needed throughout the week. Um, but it was pretty,
Yeah.
neat. Sometimes we were short staffed, so I'd have to not only manage the office, but then work along with the other employees and
That's
wash
cool.
the cars,
So
which was
it was hands
always
on,
fun.
like a hands on, car wash type place.
Yeah, it was a
That's
full
awesome.
service car wash. So you'd pull in, pay the guy at the office, leave the keys with the guy at the vacuum. He'd vacuum the car, drive it up to the tunnel. The guys would scrub it down and go
Cool.
through the tunnel. There'd be a guy to drive it off out of the tunnel and park it, in the little drying area, and then the dryers. Everybody always wanted to be the car dryers because they seem to get
Oh,
better
yeah, the
tips.
last guy in the line. That's funny. That's cool. Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
guys share tips or no?
It went back
Okay.
and forth for
Yeah.
a while. But yeah, it ended up being the majority of it was
Uh-huh.
keep your own tips. It was really cool because for a while there was a
Oh,
shoe
wow.
shine boy that had he was just a
Yeah.
youngster. He was maybe freshman in high school, but he had his own stuff and his own chair, and he didn't
Okay.
get a salary. He had like a deal with the owner where he was allowed to set up on the spot, and like he did all right. I was talking to him. He's like, yeah, during the busy days, he would do pretty
That's
good
cool.
for himself. And it's just cool, to see someone at that young age getting that kind of business
Yeah, like the
experience.
entrepreneurial positive vibe, going through those going through those motions and
Yeah.
putting it through. That's cool. Yeah, there was a gratuity a little bit when I worked for the moving company, but sometimes the boss would take it and not give it back or something. It was weird, or the driver, So it kind of the crew kind of sorted out who the good drivers were, essentially who was honest, with us to cut us in. So a little bit of a thug life kind of vibe sometimes, with particular drivers, almost like being a dick more or less. Like, dude, we all worked on this job to get
Yeah, I had a couple jobs as a bus
right.
person, and there were some waitresses that would be really generous, and so you'd go the extra mile, make sure their table had water, make sure to clear their tables first, and then there were other waitresses that were like kind of stingy,
Uh-huh.
and so maybe you weren't so excited to jump right on their tables.
Right.
I guess it's a little bit of give and
Yeah.
take, and I could see that happening in the movie where the person doesn't go around and hand each person $5. They maybe hand the driver
Yeah.
$20, and the driver saying, well,
Yeah.
"Cool, I got a tip.
Yeah,
I don't know about you
exactly.
guys."
And that would go down, so we, in short order, the guys figured it out. Thankfully I was able to survive that, because I did see crew members that jumped on the crew and essentially didn't survive. They survived like 1 day or 2 days and they were just done, because it was not easy work, man. I mean, we weren't running like physically, but it was like the kind of job where you had to keep up and load and not make drama, and there's no breaks. Like once you're on the job, it's like, you're loading until lunchtime essentially. And, cause we were driven by, I guess, performance, and we wanted to get the job done so we could actually physically go home, So yeah, yeah, there's that part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm glad we got a good stream today, man. It's nice to be back in town.
Let's see if I can get the
Yeah.
bunny to do a wave.
Rad, dude. Congratulations, man. That's cool. All right, dude. We'll see you tomorrow. Episode
Yep.
94 tomorrow. Sounds good. All right. All right, bro.
Yes, yes.
Send you the info. Love you,
All
man. Have
right,
a great
love you,
day.
brother.
Cheers. All right. Bye.